Okay, so here's the question. What does the election, customer service, and EVGA all have in common? The answer? Stick around and I'll fill you in on all the details. Okay, so as we all know, the election happened this week. And of course, there's a lot of people who didn't agree with the outcome, how it came out. I was one of those people who was a little surprised that it turned out the way that it did. But, as with all the elections that happen every 4 years for presidents, they go along with the Electoral College, and the Electoral College of the voters, of all the people that did vote, determined that Donald Trump was the best person for the job. Does everybody agree with this? No. But here's the rub on this. According to information found online, across the U.S., less than 58% of all eligible people who could vote actually did. Which kind of brings in the question of, are we becoming a little too apathetic when it comes to choosing who we vote for to run in our offices? And with a number like 58%, which leaves 42% of the nation unaccounted for, it kind of leaves a little doubt in your mind when you think of, well, if people want change, then how do they go about doing it? Well, they go out and vote. But I think more and more people have become apathetic to the whole idea of going out voting because they think, oh, it doesn't matter, my vote's not going to count, it's just going to be thrown away. Well, that's the reason why, it's part of the reason why things turn out the way they did. Now, granted, it may not have, may not have turned out any differently if, say, 75, 80, 90% of the people who were able to vote actually did. But the thing is, with only less than 58%, that's a pretty big chunk of the cross-section of our country that didn't even bother voting on who's going to run our country for the next 4 years. So now that the voting's over, now that all the votes have been tabulated and the decision's been made about who's going to be our next leader of our country, everybody's in anger mode. They're all in react mode. They're all going, how could this be? How could this happen? So they're going out and they're threatening lawsuits. They're going out and rioting in the streets. They're going out and signing online petitions to try to get this to change. Well, here's the thing. If you wanted it to change, you should have gone out and done what was necessary. You should have gone out and voted. And all those people who didn't want him in office, all of them should have made the conscientious choice to go out and cast their vote. With so many people that didn't, you got to wonder if it would have turned out a little bit differently. So now that it's all done, let's face it, people have no reason to complain because the people that did go out and vote voted the way they did. So you can't sit there and go out and complain after the fact saying that, oh, this is rigged, oh, this isn't right, oh, this couldn't happen. Well, guess what? It did. And sitting there kvetching about it after the fact is not going to change a darn thing. In fact, I don't think any of these online petitions are going to change a thing. Which comes to the whole apathy thing. And it comes to, and I've seen this in many different scenarios. I went out to a store today to go take care of some stuff on some products that I had been purchasing, and I gotta mention the store that I went to because I don't want to bring them into it. I just want to share the general story. I went in and talked with one of the salespeople at the place that I went to, and apparently there's a certain time frame that you can get what you're buying, and you only have a certain amount of time to return it to get a refund. And you only have so many days to do it. After that, it's pretty much you're out of luck. You've gone past the day. So this person goes in, and this is a person older than I am. I mean, they're up in their 50s. And they go in a couple days after the deadline. And any level-headed person who would have, gone in, would have realized, I'm past the deadline. I can't do this anymore. But that's not the mindset that people have nowadays. People have this mindset that,
oh, deadlines don't matter, timelines don't matter, it doesn't affect me, I can get my own way.
but that's not the way it works. And throwing a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old doesn't work. In fact, that's pretty much what this person did. This person, older than me, literally threw themselves on the floor, kicking and screaming and raising a temper tantrum like a 5-year-old. And I see this happen time and time again. You go to places that have a limited time offer, and it says it on the sign. And I guess the reading ability of people in this country has really gone downhill over the last few years, because I guess people don't tend to read on the signs, only good until a certain time. You gotta read all the details. And granted, in some cases, the print is a little small. Like you see the offers on TV for certain things, or you see them online for certain things. And, it says, offer only good until X. Well, guess what? X comes and goes. But do people respect the deadline? No. They think,
Well, it doesn't matter to me, I'm going to get what I want anyway, and if I don't, I'm going to raise a ruckus.
and people do it all the time, which is sad, because these are the people that say, they go up to the cashier and they say,
Well, I'm not going to accept that, I want to talk to your manager.
so they go and get the manager. Manager tells them the same thing. And they come back to them and say,
Well, I'm not going to accept that, I'm going to complain to your corporate office.
and granted, sometimes, if they scream loud enough and yell loud enough, they get their own way. But then again, I think businesses that do tend to cave to this kind of mentality only serve to enable the people that think that they're entitled to being special because, well, no real good reason. They don't think deadlines apply to them. They don't think rules apply to them. They think that they're above the law. They're above whatever kind of rules are in place. Because I couldn't even guess why. And another instance that I have seen recently where this has taken place is with the whole backlash against EVGA. And according to the stories online, people were all upset because of the data gathering that the GeForce Experience was collecting. Well, here's the thing. If you would have read the end user license agreement on the software that you installed on your computer, which, come on, let's face it. Do you really read all that stuff? I could probably count on the fingers of one hand the percentage of people that probably do. What do most of the people do? They just go, I accept. Not even reading it. They just sign on the dotted line. All it done. And then, when something happens like this, they go,
Well, you can't do that. That's unconstitutional. That's against the law. You can't collect that information.
might want to go back and read that end user license agreement that you clicked I accept on and you put your information on, because I'm pretty sure somewhere in all that legalese that's probably written by a team of lawyers with a lot more intelligence than you may have been putting together, it's probably still in there. So you may want to go back and read it. And the same thing goes with with places that have contracts. And you agree to all the terms and conditions, and then something happens and all of a sudden you're stuck in a situation where you just can't do it anymore. Well, you have to deal with consequences of that like an adult, because we were all taught, at least we were taught back when I was going to school, that you have to be an adult about some things. You have to take responsibility for your actions. You have to, abide by what you set out to do. But people don't think like that. They say,
Oh, they'll have me. They'll have me. Because if I don't get what I want, then I'll just scream up the ladder.
And they do. Sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. A lot of times I really wish more and more companies would take a firmer stance on this. Because people agree to a bunch of things in life. They'll either click I accept, or they'll sign on the dotted line with their legal signature saying that they fully understand everything that's going on, and then they don't think it applies to them anymore. Well, guess what? It does. And whether you scream at somebody in the checkout line, if you throw yourself on the floor and stomp and act like a little 5-year-old in the middle of a showroom somewhere, it doesn't really change anything. Unfortunately, a lot of places have come to this realization that of rather saving face than laying down the law. So that pretty much enables more people to get away with what they want, and they'll actually go online. They'll go into forums, and they will work together, and they will figure out ways of circumventing a system and getting what they want, and the heck with the rules and the policies when it doesn't apply to me. Well, guess what? It does. So if you want things to change, you have to go about changing them yourself. If you don't like the way you do business with a company, then you just don't do business with them. If you don't like the way something is run, whether it be a city, state, or federal government, or the presidency, you take charge of your actions. You go out and you do the right thing. You go out and vote. You make your voice heard. You can't get anywhere just by sitting there and kicking your feet, stomping the ground, and cursing at the top of your lungs. You may feel good for the next 30 seconds, but is it really going to get you anywhere? More than likely not. And here's another thing that I found out when going out when you're going, like say you're going shopping in the store, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but it was either earlier this year or part of last year when there was a big to-do about when, I believe it was in a Toys R Us store, that they were selling the Black Edition Star Wars figures. These were the articulated figures that came out to celebrate the new film's release. And people were getting triggered and offended when they saw, from Return of the Jedi, the Slave Leia figure. Okay, this is from Return of the Jedi, Episode 6. This is a scene that's known by thousands of people, and people were getting all butthurt because they happened to see this particular figure in the stores. When it comes to going out and you're shopping in a retail location, here's the thing: if you don't like something, if you don't think it's appropriate for your kids, don't buy it. You walk away. You look at something else. You don't sit there and scream at people how offensive it is to your sensibilities, that you think it's wrong, that you think that they shouldn't sell it. Well, guess what? Somebody in that store does want to buy it. They are going to buy it for themselves or their children. It doesn't affect you in the slightest. So before you go off on some tirade about being offended by an action figure or a mature video game, take some personal responsibility and tell yourself, how does this affect me directly? Do I want this for my kids? If the answer is no, then don't buy it. But don't try to sit there and rule everybody else's lives because you're getting all butthurt because of something that you're seeing in the store that you don't like. Take some freedom of choice and go somewhere else. Go another aisle. Choose another product. If you don't like the fact that a store's selling something, go somewhere else. There's other stores. Heck, this is the cyber age, for crying out loud. You can go online and buy whatever it is that you want and have it shipped to you. That way you don't have to go to a store and be offended by whatever's on the shelves or up on that peg hook somewhere that you don't like. Take some personal responsibility and make a choice. I see it happen all too often. So before you go off on that rant and try to blame somebody else for something that you did, you may want to do a little reading and do a little looking and maybe even go look in the mirror a little bit, because maybe the person that's actually to blame is the person that you're looking at right there in the mirror. So I think it's time more people started realizing this, taking responsibility for their actions, and being an adult about it. And for goodness sakes, people, learn some manners and some tact when you deal with people. Because you know what? That person that you're talking to, that person that you're dealing with, whether it's over a counter or over a phone or over an email, one thing you have to realize is that we're all human beings. One day, somewhere, one of us is going to be on the other end of that conversation. One day you may be on the other end of that conversation. And you have to really ask yourself, how do I want somebody to treat me when they don't get what they want? And it's time we stopped acting like elementary school kids and started realizing that there are consequences for your actions and you have to really take responsibility for what you do. And I hope you do. I hope now that our election's over, I'm hopeful that maybe we'll get proven wrong. Maybe I'll get proven wrong. I admit it. I was not voting for him. I did not vote for Trump. I didn't have any confidence in him because he has no political background. Maybe he'll prove me wrong. Who knows? But what's done is done. And the only thing we can do about it now, going forward, if we don't like the way things turn out, then we have to go out and try our best to make sure it doesn't happen again. You go out and make your voice heard the right way. You go out and vote for it. So I just wanted to get this off my chest because it has been bothering me for a while. So I just wanted to give you guys something to think about. So what do you think? Do you think we really should start getting our manners back under control? What do you think of the state of the world that we're in? I understand this has been a bit of a rambly video, but hey, it's the House of Randomness. It's what it's all about. I just thought I want to share this with you. So if you like what you've heard, you like this video, go ahead and smack that thumbs up button. If you didn't, well, you know what to do. Leave your comments down in the description down below, or down below the description down in the comment section, like everybody else does. Until next time, this here is Midnight Banshee in the House of Randomness, always saying be true to yourself, be random, be original, and go out there and make some change in the world.